around for email, for video conferencing, for file storage, for messaging, for essentially virtual machines, you name it. And they have got an immense success with users because users are empowered. They have a wealth of services in front of them. They can choose what they like most. And actually, in most cases, since the delivery model of these services is completely different than the traditional chain, they are free to choose more than one service for each need. They are generally very simple to use, and most of them are also free. So within this cloud landscape, we felt that there was room for Géant and NRNs to act, as we will see in a moment. So this is essentially the outline of this presentation. Let's see in some deeper detail why we decided that there was the need to act with clouds. The NRNs have as their mission to help the reference communities in their activities. So it felt rather naturally in this view to also allow the higher education research communities to provide cloud services which are useful. These services are new. There are several, as we say. They are, most of the times they are innovative or served in an innovative manner. They help in the daily activity of our communities because typically we have groups of users interacting at a transnational level often, and there are tools which allow a more effective collaboration. On the provider or the NRN side, on the other hand, the offering cloud service does not necessarily imply that the NRN has to develop each individual service from scratch, thus investing money and human resources. The NRNs have the choice to integrate what's already there, which would bring in an additional benefit because users may be already using that service. So there will be no need to train them, and the request for support will, of course, be much less. The cloud services are agile, and so this is also another great benefit. You can have a portfolio of services. You can change it later, add new things. It's a very dynamic environment. But of course, there is not only opportunities, there are also issues to be considered. And specifically because we are not targeting private use of cloud services, but use of the services in an education and research environment, there are some issues which may be acceptable at a private level and may have a totally different weight when you are dealing with them at a group level. Take, for example, the file storage. I'm handing my files to a third entity, which I don't know, so I don't have a physical relationship with, so I need to trust. But it can't be, of course, a blind trust. I need to have the elements that allow me to trust this entity. I want to make sure that my data is properly treated, properly managed, that it is safe from the point of view of corruption, for example, that is not disclosed unless I want it to, and that I may even have some laws imposing me restrictions on where the data is stored and how the data is stored. The data may contain sensitive data, sensitive information, or it may be a document which I want to be shared only among a restricted set of people. There is also issues related to the life of my data. Typically I want this data to live long, which means that as the technology is evolving, and I am as a user, I am a chooser, as we said earlier, I may have the need or just the will to change, to go from one provider to another. And it's rather obvious that generally commercial providers do not resonate on this idea that you can easily go from one place to another. But in this landscape, the good thing is that the cloud is evolving rapidly, and it is evolving rapidly now. So there is really a room to act. If the NRNs want to be close to the users and help them, it's part then of their mission to help them make the right informed choice, such that they do not end up into fragmented islands of services which do not talk to each other or whose future is uncertain. So in short, the mission, the goal of this activity is to help NRNs to bring services to users with the right conditions of use, preserving the possibility for users to choose and giving them services which are easy to use and that are safe. So now, a few words on the Géant 3 Plus SA7 activity. It is composed of 4 cloud tasks, which will be reviewed one by one now. The fundamental one, which underpins all the others, is strategy. In task 1, we want to establish a common strategy, which is based on what are the requirements of the communities, what are the things which a community feels that are important to them. So as part of this activity, and since the NRNs are so different and they operate in such different environments, it's important that we align them somehow by establishing a common vocabulary, that we talk to each other, to exchange information, so that all of us can come up to speed very quickly. So if you have clear what is the common goal, what do you want to achieve in a few years from now in terms of clouds, then you can start building the road. And it's better if you start building with bricks that you know will be interoperable. And interoperability is best achieved by basing on shared policies, a shared set of rules, describing the best practices which have been adopted by some who are a bit more advanced along the path. So this will make sure that whatever you do will not be pieces which are separated by construction. Once the building blocks are in place, you look around and see what are the services which are available, not just from vendors, but I would say for providers at large, which may be other NRNs as well. And on one side you have the tools that the users and the NRNs are asking. On the other side you have a wealth of services. So you need to find a match between them, to find solution for each of the needs. And the last task deals with integration. So with the technical activity which is needed to make sure that the pieces really talk together, and also contains that plus which characterizes the NRNs, for example, but I will get back to this later, that all the pieces support the identity federations. So as I was saying, you define a common strategy, which does not mean that all the NRNs will have to share the same strategy. This, of course, is not feasible because, as I say, everyone is different, operates in a different environment, different reference communities, partly, different fundings, so any kind of differences. But at least the principles should be in common, and also the roadmap to get there. We came up with SA7 with a cloud delivery model. This cloud delivery model integrates a way to approach the cloud services with what is characteristics of the NRNs. So the NRN obviously control the network layer, sorry, and have a long-standing tradition of authorization and authentication mechanisms. The most efficient and effective way to provide good services to our users, we believe, is to start with making things very clear from the beginning. So describe what are the things important and inform the would-be providers about this. Then look what are the cloud services, stamp those who fit with these requirements, and create a catalog of offerings. And then provide this catalog to users, but not just this. Provide not only the services, but all the additional information which makes users, which makes it possible to users to make an informed decision. And also, in addition to this, some guidance as to whether the cloud is the right answer to the specific need, which may well not be. If it is, then provide all the elements to pick the good service. So I mentioned earlier the activity of aligning NRNs. This starts with aligning the needs in terms of services. We have identified 4 main areas: the collaboration suites, the real-time communication tools, tools for file storage and synchronization, which are aimed at large data and small data, and the provisioning of virtual machines. Then we are developing what is the requirements baseline, what are the essential conditions of use to us, so what are the things which we value: the respect for privacy, attention to ownership of the data, control of where the data is located, support for AAI, identity federations. With this in mind, we look to providers who see an opportunity to interact, who see the benefit also from their point of view to interact. And while doing this, we have another asset, which is the strength of 50 million users, which represent the research community in Europe. So typically, if you choose to adopt a cloud service, you take it as it is. There is no way to change it. If you have 50 million users behind you, you may have some chance, apart from negotiating a better price, which is obvious, but also to negotiate specific terms, specific functional requirements. So you have some chance to tailor the service to your needs. And as I say, this activity ends up with the preparation of the cloud catalog. And then at this point, the NRNs come into play. They go to the catalog and try to pick the best available tool. But they will not only have Géant or SA7 have negotiated the best price for them. This is not the only thing that the NRNs are asking to be helped with, but they will also find blueprints which allow them to go from the selection to the actual operation in little time. They will have templates for the contacts, for example, which will be at hopefully 95% immediately available to them. They will just need to possibly fine-tune something to fit with the national regulations, but they will be sure that all the right words and conditions have been already discussed and are present in the document. So who is doing all of this? There is 14 NRNs who are directly involved in SA7 for quite a important number of man-months within the full of Géant 3 Plus project. But of course, all the other NONs are closely looking at what we are doing, and we have synergies with other activities at the European level. And I have to say that we already have some early feedback that SA7 is identified today already as the voice of all the NRNs for cloud matters. So this is already an important achievement, I believe. So I will now discuss quickly a couple of things which we have been doing since the start of the project. First one is the NRN's cloud assessment. We have prepared a survey to distribute to all the NRNs to make a snapshot, to take a picture of what is the situation right now. We had a very good number of NRNs who responded, 23, and most of them are already working with clouds. Maybe not at an advanced stage. Some are working with, I would say, spot, based on participation on European project, for example. However, 50% of respondents already felt the need to dedicate a specific cloud team to these matters. Only a rather relatively small number today is working with clouds in a very structured way. However, there is large agreement that cloud has brought or will bring a huge impact on their organizations. Nevertheless, NRNs find cloud services appealing because they will allow them to deliver services quicker, to deliver service which can scale up with demand, and which can deliver services which are easy to use. Both users and decision makers are, in the perception of the NRNs, demonstrating a strong interest with the clouds. Maybe decision makers will not be so clear because probably what matters to them is the idea, so the concept of making life easier for researchers, whether it's Create Cloud or the next buzzword, they don't care. However, between now and the next 12 months, most NRNs believe that they will have to do quite a lot. Almost all of them, they believe that they will provide and operate their own cloud services. And half of them will also look at to brokering cloud services from commercial providers. And the natural consequence of this is that half of the respondents will need to integrate services. The most attractive services to NRNs are those related to instantiation of virtual machines, to file storage and web conferencing. The main clients, I would say, for NRNs are institutions, but there are some who are dealing directly with users. It's not only lights, it's also shades, and the threats which are perceived most urgent to be dealt with are those related to security, privacy, but also the risk of being locked with a specific vendor or a specific technology. And the NRNs feel that acting as a Géant community, there is help which can come from a common action for sharing knowledge, for sharing the fundamental blocks, for sharing the standards which should be adopted, and also on the practical side, sharing the procurement and brokering activity, which is consuming quite some time at all the NRNs. Now we come with the typical cases which have been identified. So along the lines of the questionnaire, the specific task in SA7, which deals with providers, has engaged with a number of them to see whether they comply with our requirements, whether they see the opportunity, and if they don't, to explain to them why it is also important for them to deal with a community which speaks as a single voice. Typically there has been two approaches, one to scale up an individual NRN's agreement to the European level, another to establish new pan-European agreements. Not all the providers have the structure which is capable of establishing a pan-European agreement. Some have made some resistance, but okay, there is hope that the situation will change. And however, a number of fighters have been identified who have reacted very promptly and are very interested in making business with the NRN community. I have blanked out the names of the specific products here, but this is just to show that along the three lines, the collaboration suites, file storage, and infrastructure as a service, which are felt the most interesting for NRNs now, we have engaged with a number of providers, from the public commercial vendors to community providers. And these agreements are at different stages. The plan is to add more and promote phase 1 to phase 2 and operational. As for the other activities, just 30 seconds. We have been present at cloud conferences to get a feeling of what's going on in this world and present what we have been doing for our community. We are participating in a European project called A4, which makes sure that to define the elements by which the user can have certainty that the promises of the commercial provider the promises of the cloud provider are maintained. And we have links with the European Commission cloud initiatives. So this was the last slide. Sorry for taking a couple of minutes more than the allotted time, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Well, thanks very much, Fulvio. Very interesting presentation. There's already one question from Toby Young. I'll relay it to you. What's going to be the first deliverable, in your opinion?
Well, the first deliverable has been the cloud assessment, which is already on the Géant website. And following this, we are now escalating this to the next level. So from the picture, we are now going to discuss with all involved NRNs, okay, but where do you want your NRN to be in, say, 5 years from now? So what is your vision? How you should evolve, how the ecosystem of the NRNs and Géant should evolve in a few years from now. So we are setting up the elements which would allow then NRNs and Géant to define their own strategy. This, as I said, is rather complicated because everyone is different. But okay, we are working on this now. And on the other side, there is activity going on with the cloud catalog. It has already been demonstrated at a recent meeting in Vienna, early October, that we have a catalog which is not very much populated, but it already contains 1 or 2 instances of services for each of the main areas, which have been which are felt as more useful by the NRNs. So we will go along this direction. And then there will be best practices documents, so quite some activity.
Thanks, Fulvio. Are there any more questions from anybody? If not, I'd like to thank Fulvio again for being the guinea pig and doing the first showcase, and for preparing such an interesting presentation. Melanie, have you raised your hand raised? Let me. So I've enabled your microphone, Melanie, or you can type into the chat window. No?
Okay, too shy.
Too shy. Anne is typing something, so we'll just wait to see what Anne's typing. Melanie, if you'd like to type into the everyone chat window there as well, and we'll grab your question that way. So Fulvio, can you see the chat window there? Yeah.
Yeah, with support for the data protection code on that, including the cloud certification program. Yes, the cloud certification program will deal with all these aspects. Sure. Not only the technical, but also at the operational and management level.
Yeah, I can hear people furiously. I think that might
Yes.
be Melanie furiously typing, so just wait for this. There we go.
Right, so I'm reading Laura's question, who is asking about connection with NA2. The one thing which I did not make explicit in my slides is that in talking to others and establish the common vocabulary, of course, there is also the need to talk with others intended as SA7, with others meaning the full Géant community. And so there's been activities not only with NAs, but also with other service activities, like the work which is being done for federations, or identity federations.
Okay, great. Thanks for your feedback, Melanie, and thanks for the question, Laura. If there are no other questions, then I'll take this opportunity to thank you all for attending the first Géant showcase, giving up half an hour of your time to find out about clouds. The plan is that this will happen every week now, except for the day after Christmas, as Ian told me this morning. And on a Thursday, there are still slots available, and you can go ahead and request a slot at the link that's now in the chat window there. We'd be very interested to hear from you. Let us know which date would work for you best. Next week is still free, so please go ahead and ask us, and we'll fit you in. So thanks, Fulvio, and thank you all for joining, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for attending.